Hello beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time here, welcome. I am April and this is April Adventuring. Today I'm going to be talking about 13 different apps for your smartphone that you will want to be using when you go backpacking. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down here to be notified when I post new videos. I'm trying to post weekly this year, so you guys can all help keep me accountable to that. Before we get started, I did just want to address that I got my hair done, so it probably looks very different, or maybe it doesn't look that different, I don't know. But because I have so many apps, I'm gonna get started and try to breeze through these. I'm not gonna go really into depth on each of these because there's just so many to go through and it would take a million years. If you're interested in any of them, I highly recommend that you download it and play around with it yourself and try it out and figure out which ones work for your needs. All right, to kick it off, I want to talk about the Gaia GPS app. If you hike or backpack, you probably have heard of this app, or maybe you use it yourself already, but I just discovered this app within the last year and I am pretty much obsessed. If you're not familiar with the Gaia app, it's essentially kind of what it sounds like. You know, it's maps and GPS, but they're very informative and there are a ton of different map versions that you can use within the app. The subscriptions, there's two different ones. The standard option gives you the availability to download maps for offline use, which is probably the most useful feature of the app altogether. And the premium version gives you access to more types of maps and also allows you to stack your maps on top of each other. So you can actually see different maps overlaid on top of each other so you can see more information at once. Pro tip for you guys, if you are interested in trying the premium version, you can go through Trailblazer.com. It's an online magazine and they actually will provide a free year of the premium subscription, which costs $40 on Gaia. They'll provide that for you for free with a one-year subscription to the magazine, which is only $20. So you'll get the magazine and the premium version of Gaia for $20, which is a total $60 value. The next app I want to talk about is AllTrails. And while I think Gaia is kind of the gold standard GPS app for backpackers and hikers, I think that AllTrails is probably the gold standard for trails maps. And if you haven't used it before, it's pretty much a giant directory of all the trails, hence the name. So I use that app all the time to find new trails, especially when I'm traveling and don't know the area that well. Okay, Pico is saying hi, but I'm gonna move on to the next app. This is just a quick shout out for the Washington Trails Association Trailblazer app. This is kind of a more in-depth version of the AllTrails app, but specifically for Washington. I also recommend that you do some searching online and see if the AllTrails app isn't working for you, if there is maybe one that's more catered to your area. The next map app that I want to talk about is Google Maps, but specifically the offline maps feature. When you're going backpacking or driving out to trailheads, very often you are going to drive out of cell service areas. So downloading the map of the area that you're going to be visiting before you go is so helpful, so helpful. When I'm road tripping, I will seriously highlight each of the areas that I need to be driving through and I will download them. This is just a really great safety net in case you do end up getting lost. But even if you did forget to download the offline maps before you left your Wi-Fi or your cell service area, you can still use your GPS and just kind of look at the map and see where you are and direct yourself back to a road. So I have used that countless times. It has definitely saved my butt. The next app that I want to touch on is called Guthook Guides. This one was actually recommended to me by the wonderful REI specialist who helped me purchase my first backpack. He pretty much told me that he uses this on all of his hikes and he's like obviously an avid backpacker. This app's a little different because you actually purchase guides to specific trails. It's generally used for through trails, so like the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, the Continental Divide, the John Muir Trail, etc. And they range in price really from a couple dollars to I believe $60 or $59.99 for the Appalachian Trail, and it's the entire trail. Otherwise, you can also buy sections of them. There are a handful of free demo trails that you can use for smaller sections of trails or just to try out the app. Now, what's so special about the Guthook Guides app is that it's pretty much the closest to a real-time, very specific forecast of the trail that you can get, especially when you're out on the trail. So the app also gives you offline access once you've purchased that trail. It's kind of like a forum. They'll actually put in like this watering source is good right now, this watering source is dry, the weather is looking like this, and it's pretty real time, especially on the more popular trails like the Appalachian Trail. Next, I'm going to talk about two apps that are used for peak and mountain range identification. The first one is called PeakVisor. If you give it access to the camera, you can hold it up and then it will actually add labels on the screen to the peaks in the skyline that it can see through the app. Another cool feature about PeakVisor is that you can search for different areas, not specifically where you are, and you can be teleported to those different areas to explore those mountain ranges in 3D. It's super cool. It does take a little while, I will say, for those maps to download just because they are quite detailed, but those are super fun to explore even if you're not just trying to look at, what's around you. The second of these two apps is called ViewRanger. This one also uses AR. Honestly, sometimes when I'm out, I just want to know what mountain I'm looking at, and this is the one that I found to be the easiest to use for that. I am just a big fan of exploring more about where my surroundings are through using these different types of apps, especially the AR ones they're so freaking handy. This next app is called Chimani National Parks, and they have hundreds and hundreds of guides on anything that's covered under the umbrella of the National Park Services system. So national parks, monuments, historic sites, scenic trails, they have tons of information and lots of little insider tips. I really love to use this app for trip planning. So you can kind of enter the region that you're going to, what your adventurer type is, or explorer type, I think they call it. They give you this itinerary of all these choices of things you can do in that area depending on what you like. It is super helpful and kind of saves a lot of Googling time just to have it all kind of assembled for you in a nice package in the app. This next app is specifically for backpacking and it's called Packlight for backpackers. This one is free to use, completely free, and it's super, super simple. The entire objective of the app is to save you time in figuring out how much your backpacking set of gear weighs. So it's really nice that you can just add in your equipment and how much it weighs. I used to do this all in a notebook and do it manually every time I was packing. So having it in the app makes it so much easier. And you just have to add all your equipment first, and then you can start adding the pieces of equipment to different gear lists. So you can actually save different gear lists. So you can do for specific backpacks or for specific trip lengths, and then those will be in there and you don't have to do it again the next time you come in the app. This next app I want to talk about is called Opensignal, and I actually came across this app when I was looking up information about van life and how van lifers find areas with cell service or access the internet when they're out and about. This app is free to use, and you'll see that it's very simple. When you open it up, it's essentially just a map that highlights areas that have cell service, and you can filter it by the carrier that you use. So you can choose Verizon and then see what areas on the map, and it is pretty precise. You'll see which areas on the map are highlighted that have cell service from Verizon. I find that this is really helpful for trip planning. If I'm going to be leaving an area with cell service, I'll be sure to download the maps before I go and alert somebody. This next app is called Cairn, and this one is a really, really great safety app for if you're going to be going out into areas without cell service. The additional benefits of using Cairn is that they will send out automated messages to your emergency contacts in whatever situation you designate. So for example, you can list a date that you plan to return from your trip, and if you haven't returned yet, then the Cairn app will send wording that you specify in the app to designated contacts that of course you also specify in the app. So this is a really great way to make sure that people that are aware of your trip are alerted if something goes wrong or if you don't return and you don't have cell service to be able to contact them yourself. These last three apps are pretty much just for fun apps, but I use these so often that I wanted to share them, and I seriously pull them out every time I'm backpacking around the trail. The first one is called PictureThis. I'm pretty sure they call it an AI or an artificial intelligence, but I feel like it's just a machine learning. Regardless, it is super fun to use. You can identify different plants with this, and you may know I'm freaking obsessed with plants. So when I'm out, I'm always curious what plants I'm looking at. You basically just take a picture of the plant in the app, and then it will identify it for you. And they say that it has 98% accuracy. I can't vouch for that, but it is really good. So it provides the name, a description, and other information about that plant in the app. The second one is called Seek. And it's quite similar to PictureThis, but with Seek you can identify plants and animals. In my experience, for plants, PictureThis has been more accurate. That's the one that I typically use because I'm just a total plant junkie. But if you're also interested in identifying animals, you may want to try out Seek. Another fun feature of Seek is that they sort of gamify the use of the app, so you can collect badges depending on how many different species you've identified, whereas PictureThis is much more bare bones. They just have you take a photo and then they give you the information. This last app I want to talk about is called Starwalk 2. This is another AR or augmented reality app, and it's for viewing celestial bodies, which I am also obsessed with. This one is super fun to use. I seriously use it pretty much every night that I'm out backpacking now. You can hold it up to the sky, and as you move around, it will actually scan the sky and show you on the screen what your phone is pointed at. I mostly use this app for identifying constellations. Prior to using it, I could really only identify the Big Dipper and Orion, and that's it. And after having used it for a few months, I can probably identify at least 3 more, which is more than double what I had before. I did actually also purchase one add-on in the app which provides much more information about the constellations, such as being able to rotate them in 3D and see what they would look like if we were standing somewhere in the universe that isn't planet Earth. I love to pull out this app while I'm stargazing and have a more informed session that I can actually learn about what I'm looking at. And this app seriously has provided countless hours of entertainment. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found at least 1 or 2 new apps for you to try out on your next backpacking, camping, or hiking trip. If you did, let me know in the comments which ones you're going to try or which ones from this list you found to be the most helpful. If you haven't yet, please subscribe and hit the notification bell down here to be alerted. You guys can all comment on my videos if I'm not posting once a week, because I'm really going to try to stick to that schedule. But if you do want to see more content from me, I do post more frequently on my Instagram. I have the same handle over there. It's @AprilAdventuring, and I would love to see you over there. But with that, I will let you guys go. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you here next week for the next video. But until then, peace.